The humid air hung thick over the South Pacific on that sweltering July morning in 1942. Heat shimmered across Espiritu Santo Island. The 20th day of July had arrived with oppressive weight. Something extraordinary was taking shape where dense jungle had stood just 3 weeks before. American bulldozers rumbled across newly cleared earth. Their engines roared in the tropical heat. Dust clouds rose behind massive steel blades. The final preparations were underway on a runway stretching 6,000 feet into the distance. Virgin rainforest had been transformed into a major airfield in barely 20 days. The men of the 3rd Construction Battalion Detachment moved with purpose. These Navy Seabees had accomplished something remarkable. 6 tractors had carved through jungle. 2 scrapers had leveled the earth. 387 men had worked around the clock. What emerged defied all military convention. Japanese military planners had studied such projects extensively. Their doctrine stated clearly that major airfield construction required massive resources. Thousands of laborers would be needed. Months of continuous work would be essential. The Americans had shattered these assumptions completely. Sweat poured down faces as engines continued their relentless work. The tropical sun beat down mercilessly. Equipment operators squinted through dust and heat haze. Every man understood the significance of their achievement. This airfield would change everything in the Pacific War. Japanese intelligence services would soon discover this construction feat. Their shock would be profound and lasting. No surviving diary entries capture that initial moment of realization. Most Japanese records from this period were destroyed as the war progressed. What remains tells a story through absence rather than presence. The evidence emerges through different channels entirely. American construction records provide meticulous documentation. Japanese strategic decisions reveal growing awareness and concern. Limited Japanese sources that survived the war's destruction offer glimpses of understanding. Facts and statistics paint the clearest picture of all. These numbers would force Japanese commanders to confront an uncomfortable truth. They faced an enemy whose industrial capabilities exceeded their own by staggering margins. Engineering prowess had been fundamentally underestimated. Construction speed defied every calculation in their military handbooks. The magnitude of this realization would prove more devastating than any battlefield defeat. It represented a complete failure of strategic assessment. Pre-war planning had been built on false assumptions. Now reality was shattering those comfortable illusions, one airfield at a time. Guadalcanal provided the first major encounter between Japanese forces and American construction capabilities. The significance would not be immediately apparent. Understanding would come gradually as patterns emerged across multiple engagements. American Marines stormed ashore on August 7th in 1942. Their target was a nearly completed Japanese airfield at Henderson Point. This facility represented months of intensive labor by Japanese construction crews. 2,774 workers had toiled in the tropical heat. The workforce included Japanese specialists and Korean laborers. Local civilians had been pressed into service. 1,379 Japanese workers provided technical expertise. 1,145 Koreans supplied manual labor. 250 civilians contributed additional support. More than a month of continuous construction had shaped the jungle into an airfield. Trees had been cleared by hand. Coral had been crushed and spread manually. Every foot of runway represented countless hours of human effort. The facility was nearly ready for operational use. American forces captured this prize within hours of landing. The Japanese had fled before completing their work. Within 6 days, something remarkable happened. The airfield was fully operational under American control. What had taken the Japanese over a month to build was completed and improved in less than a week. The 6th Naval Construction Battalion arrived on September 1st. These were the first Seabees to experience combat operations. 387 enlisted men came ashore, with 5 officers. Their equipment would transform Henderson Field completely. Combat operations continued while construction proceeded. Japanese bombers from Rabaul appeared daily at noon. Mitsubishi aircraft dropped their loads with mechanical precision. The airfield took repeated punishment from above. Despite constant bombardment, the runway remained operational. Construction records document the pace of improvement under fire. Henderson Field expanded daily, while enemy bombs fell. Defensive positions were strengthened between air raids. Additional facilities appeared with startling speed. The Japanese had never witnessed such construction capabilities. October 13th brought the most intense bombardment of the campaign. Japanese battleships Kongo and Haruna positioned themselves offshore after dark. 914-inch shells screamed toward the airfield throughout the night. Explosions lit the darkness with orange flame. Dawn on October 15th revealed extensive damage across the runway. 53 shell craters pocked the landing surface. Debris scattered in all directions. The airfield appeared completely destroyed from aerial reconnaissance. Japanese planners celebrated what seemed like decisive victory. Their celebration proved premature by several hours. American construction crews swarmed across the damaged runway at first light. Equipment operators fired up their machines while smoke still rose from fresh craters. Repair work began before the last echoes of naval gunfire faded. By full daylight, the runway was operational again. Aircraft took off and landed normally. The craters had been filled and compacted. Debris had been cleared completely. What the Japanese expected would disable the field for weeks had been repaired overnight. Admiral Yamamoto himself took notice of this construction capability. The combined fleet's primary mission was redirected immediately. Supporting ground operations became secondary to destroying Henderson Field. This single, rapidly maintained airfield had become the primary strategic target. The Tokyo Express runs reflected this new priority. High-speed destroyer operations could only carry limited cargo. Heavy construction equipment could not be transported effectively. These logistical limitations were direct responses to Henderson Field's threat to slower vessels. This fundamental alteration of Japanese logistics stemmed from one airfield. The ability to construct and maintain it under fire forced strategic changes throughout the Japanese fleet. These changes would contribute directly to the eventual starvation of Japanese ground forces. Colonel Kiyanao Ichiki led the first major counterattack against Henderson Field. His confidence seemed justified by traditional military calculations. 917 experienced troops should overwhelm a partially defended airstrip. His expectations proved catastrophically wrong. The Battle of the Tenaru River annihilated Ichiki's entire force on August 21st. Personal papers died with the colonel in the jungle. Captured operational orders revealed no appreciation for American construction achievements. Japanese intelligence had failed completely. The assault force expected to find a basic, partially complete facility. Instead, they encountered a fully operational base hosting 31 Marine aircraft. Defensive positions had been constructed with surprising speed. Supply facilities supported sustained operations. The reality bore no resemblance to Japanese expectations. Lieutenant General Harukichi Hyakutake commanded the Japanese 17th Army throughout the campaign. 3 major attempts to recapture Henderson Field would follow between August and November. Each assault was based on flawed assumptions about American construction capabilities. Every attack presumed that airfield damage would require weeks to repair. Traditional military engineering suggested this timeline was reasonable. Japanese experience supported these calculations. The reality of American repair capabilities shattered these comfortable assumptions completely. The October naval bombardment represented the campaign's most intensive attack. Hyakutake's staff calculated carefully after the shelling. The field would remain inoperative for at least 1 week. Ground forces could advance without air support interference. Victory seemed assured by these calculations. Hours later, these calculations lay in ruins, alongside the filled shell craters. Henderson Field operated normally, while Japanese forces approached through the jungle. Air support pounded advancing troops mercilessly. The rapid restoration forced fundamental reassessment of American capabilities throughout Japanese strategic planning. The Central Pacific campaigns of 1943 would demonstrate construction disparities even more dramatically. American forces pushed deeper into Japanese-held territory. Each engagement revealed widening gaps in engineering capabilities. The Gilbert Islands provided perhaps the most shocking demonstration yet. Tarawa became a crucible for both combat effectiveness and construction speed. The 74th Naval Construction Battalion landed alongside Marines during the November assault. Fighting raged from the 20th through the 23rd. Japanese defenders had prepared extensively for this battle. Approximately 5,000 troops from elite naval landing forces held Betio Island. The 3rd Special Naval Landing Force provided veteran fighters. The 7th Sasebo Special Naval Landing Force added additional expertise. These units had spent months fortifying their positions with characteristic thoroughness. Japanese construction crews had built a 4,500-foot airstrip using traditional methods. Manual labor had shaped coral into a functional runway over several months. Hand tools and human power had accomplished this engineering feat. The facility represented significant investment in time and resources. American construction crews surveyed the battle-damaged airfield as combat operations concluded. Explosions had cratered the runway surface. Debris littered the operational area. Japanese defensive positions had been blasted into rubble. The facility appeared completely destroyed. 15 hours later, aircraft were landing normally. This timeline appears in official Naval Construction Battalion action reports. No propaganda claims or rough estimates cloud this documentation. 15 hours from battle damage to operational status represented unprecedented construction speed. Most Japanese defenders died in final banzai charges. Few witnessed the construction miracle that followed their defeat. Those who might have observed this feat carried the knowledge to their graves. The strategic implications reached Japanese high command through intelligence channels instead. Captured reports from later in the war reveal staff officer calculations. American forces could establish air superiority over captured territory within days. Previous assumptions of weeks or months had become obsolete overnight. This realization would reshape Japanese defensive planning completely. The Marshall Islands operations reinforced these new realities throughout early 1944. At Kwajalein, the 121st Construction Battalion transformed captured facilities immediately. Japanese installations became American aviation bases, while combat operations continued nearby. Majuro provided even more dramatic demonstrations of construction speed. The 110th Naval Construction Battalion converted damaged Japanese runways into major bomber facilities. The 6,800-foot strip would support heavy aircraft operations against remaining Japanese strongholds. Japanese intelligence failures regarding American construction became increasingly apparent through captured documents. Pre-war estimates had calculated American merchant shipping production at 5 million tons for 1943. Actual production reached 19.2 million tons. The underestimate exceeded 380%. Naval strength estimates proved equally inaccurate. Japanese intelligence predicted the United States Navy would field 137,000 officers and 296,000 enlisted personnel by December 1943. Reality delivered 219,000 officers, 120,000 officer candidates, and 2,343,000 enlisted sailors. These numbers represented more than 7 times Japanese estimates. Strategic planning based on such flawed intelligence was doomed from the start. But nowhere were these failures more consequential than in construction capability assessments. Japanese military doctrine, preserved in captured training manuals, allocated months for major airfield projects. Their conceptual framework simply could not accommodate rapid mechanized construction. Hand tools and manual labor remained the foundation of their engineering approach. The 17th Setsue, captured in the Solomon Islands, typified Japanese construction capabilities. 900 shovels comprised their primary earth-moving equipment. 90 picks supplemented the shovels for harder material. Limited rollers provided compaction capability. These resources seemed adequate for their construction philosophy. American aviation engineer battalions deployed with completely different equipment inventories. 140-plus vehicles supported each unit. 200-plus pieces of construction equipment provided mechanical advantage. The disparity in capability was almost incomprehensible to Japanese planners. The Marianas Campaign brought construction disparities into sharp strategic focus during summer 1944. These islands would provide bases for attacks against the Japanese homeland. Construction speed would determine how quickly this threat became operational reality. Lieutenant General Yoshitsugu Saito commanded Japanese forces on Saipan. The 43rd Division represented elite troops with extensive combat experience. Saito would witness American construction capabilities that exceeded every assumption in Japanese military doctrine. Aslito Airfield fell to American assault forces on June 18th. Only 3 days had passed since invasion began. Japanese defenders had expected to hold the facility for weeks, if not months. The speed of its capture was shocking enough. What followed was beyond comprehension. Construction began immediately while fighting continued across the island. Seabees of the 3rd Battalion, 20th Marines swarmed across the damaged runway. The 121st and 18th Construction Battalions provided additional expertise. Equipment roared to life, while gunfire echoed from nearby positions. 4 days after capture, the field was operational for fighter aircraft. Pilots landed and took off normally, while combat raged in the island's interior. By July, major expansion was underway to accommodate much larger aircraft. The transformation happened with breathtaking speed. Construction continued while fighting still consumed Saipan's northern mountains. Heavy equipment operators worked within sound of rifle fire. Supply convoys delivered materials past active combat zones. The first Superfortress bomber arrived on October 12th as scheduled. Jolton Josie of the 73rd Bombardment Wing touched down on the expanded runway. This aircraft represented the culmination of construction that began during active combat. From battle-damaged Japanese facility to operational bomber base in less than 4 months. General Saito did not survive to document his observations. Suicide claimed his life on July 7th as American forces closed their grip. His final orders, preserved in translation, reveal understanding of what rapid airfield construction meant for Japan itself. These words carry the weight of strategic desperation. The barbaric attack of the enemy is being continued. It is expected that the enemy will launch a general all-out attack. I will defend the sovereign's domain unto death. I will never suffer the disgrace of being captured alive. Saito understood that Saipan's airfields placed Tokyo within bomber range. What he could not fully grasp was the construction scale that would follow his death. The transformation of Saipan into a major bomber complex required moving millions of tons of material. Construction equipment operated 20 hours daily, with only 4 hours reserved for maintenance. Caterpillar bulldozers worked around the clock in the tropical heat. The machines could accomplish work that hundreds of manual laborers required days to complete. D8 bulldozers, with 148 horsepower and hydraulic controls, moved earth with mechanical precision. Japanese forces had nothing comparable in their equipment inventory. When the 17th Setsue was captured, their entire inventory was documented during interrogation. 5 trucks comprised their mobile equipment. 1 steamroller provided compaction capability. Hand tools filled out their engineering resources. This inventory reflected both equipment shortages and construction philosophy rooted in manual labor traditions. Japanese commanders on Saipan had calculated months would be required to fortify their defensive positions adequately. American construction crews built multiple operational airfields in weeks while combat continued. The disparity was almost beyond comprehension. Even more shocking was American ability to build effectively while under fire. Japanese military doctrine emphasized warrior spirit over material capabilities. Yamato Damashi was considered superior to mechanical advantage in military effectiveness. At Saipan, they witnessed combat engineers who were both effective warriors and skilled builders simultaneously. The 121st Construction Battalion had Marine Corps attachment and fought as infantry while operating heavy equipment. This dual capability represented something completely outside Japanese military experience. Neighboring Tinian would provide demonstrations that defied all comprehension of construction capabilities. The engineering project undertaken there remains among the largest and fastest military construction feats in human history. Between July 1944 and May 1945, transformation was total. The 6th Naval Construction Brigade comprised 15,000 skilled personnel. Their mission was transforming Tinian into the world's largest bomber base complex. The statistics verified through construction records remain staggering even by contemporary standards. Runways stretching 6,500 feet were carved from jungle and coral formations. North Field contained 4 parallel runways, each capable of launching bombers for 3,000-mile round trips to Japan. Westfield added 2 additional runways to the complex. The amount of coral hauled, blasted, and compacted was equivalent to filling Hoover Dam 3 complete times. This comparison provides perspective on the engineering scale involved. Traditional construction methods could never have accomplished such massive earth movement. Colonel Kiyoshi Ogata commanded approximately 9,000 Japanese troops defending Tinian. Most died during the island's defense fighting with characteristic determination. Even during battle, the speed of American construction was evident to surviving observers. Construction battalions landed with assault waves on July 24th. By August 1st, while Japanese forces still controlled the southern portion, American engineers were already extending the former Japanese fighter strip at North Field. Work proceeded while combat continued nearby. Japanese construction of original Tinian airfields had required many months of intensive labor. Forced workers from Chamorro and Korean populations provided manual effort. A captured Japanese engineering report described their construction methods in detail. Manual crushing of coral provided runway material. Hand mixing of concrete created hardened surfaces. Picks and shovels served as primary construction tools throughout the project. These methods reflected both equipment limitations and traditional construction approaches. The engineering report estimated extending runways by 1,000 feet would require 1,000 laborers working for 2 full months. American construction crews extended Tinian runways by 4,000 feet in less than 30 days. The efficiency advantage was overwhelming. Psychological impact of this construction capability appears in prisoner interrogations conducted by naval intelligence. While these sessions focused primarily on military intelligence rather than construction observations, several prisoners mentioned their amazement at American equipment independently. One captured Naval Construction Unit member provided simple testimony. "We could not compete with the United States Navy method that used bulldozer and power shovel versus our method that used shovel and scoop by humans." This statement captured the fundamental disparity perfectly. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, commanding Japanese forces on Iwo Jima, possessed perhaps the best understanding of American industrial capabilities among Japanese officers. His service as military attaché in Washington from 1928 to 1930 provided extensive exposure to American industry and organization. Travel throughout the United States had demonstrated American industrial capacity firsthand. His letters home, later published as Picture, Letters from the Commander-in-Chief, provide rare Japanese perspectives on American capabilities. These insights would prove prophetic during the Iwo Jima campaign. American Marines stormed ashore on February 19, 1945, against approximately 21,000 determined defenders. Kuribayashi had spent months transforming the island into an underground fortress. Japanese construction troops had built 11 miles of tunnels connecting underground command posts and concealed artillery positions. This represented one of the most extensive Japanese construction projects of the entire war. Traditional methods accomplished over many months of intensive labor. The underground complex reflected Japanese engineering capabilities at their most sophisticated level. American construction philosophy emphasized speed over concealment and mechanical power over manual labor. The 31st and 103rd Naval Construction Battalions landed with assault waves. The 133rd, attached to 4th Marine Division, would suffer the highest casualties in CB history. 40 killed, 156 wounded, and 48 evacuated for sickness from approximately 1,100 personnel. Despite these casualties and constant enemy fire, construction proceeded at previously impossible pace. Damaged Japanese airfields were under repair within days. February 26th marked exactly 1 week after the initial landing. The first American aircraft landed on repaired runway surfaces. This OY-1 artillery spotter represented operational success, despite continuing combat across the island. March 4th brought even more dramatic demonstration of construction speed under fire. The first bomber made emergency landing, while battle still raged around airfield perimeters. Dynamite of the 9th Bombardment Group had been damaged over Tokyo and could not return to Mariana's bases. Rapidly repaired Iwo Jima airfields saved both aircraft and crew. This emergency landing validated construction efforts undertaken while combat continued. The facility was operational enough to handle heavy aircraft in extreme circumstances. Kuribayashi did not survive to record thoughts about American construction capabilities. Death claimed him during final Japanese assault on March 26th. His pre-invasion assessment, preserved in military archives, acknowledged American material superiority while underestimating construction speed. The enemy's offensive power and equipment are superior, and it is difficult for us to match them. What he could not anticipate was construction speed maintained under constant fire. Traditional assumptions about engineering timelines proved completely obsolete. One documented incident illustrates the construction capability gap with stark clarity. Japanese forces on Mount Suribachi had attempted for 2 years to build a road reaching the summit. Difficult terrain and limited equipment made progress extremely slow. Within 2 weeks of capturing the mountain, American bulldozers had carved a road to the top. This achievement, recounted by Marine Corps historians, allegedly caused a captured Japanese officer to weep, though specific identification cannot be verified in available records. By battle's end on March 26th, over 2,429 bombers had made emergency landings on Iwo Jima. These aircraft carried approximately 27,000 airmen whose lives were saved by rapidly constructed facilities. The airfields enabling these emergency landings were built and maintained while under constant enemy fire. Japanese military doctrine had never contemplated such construction as remotely possible. Reality exceeded their most optimistic assessments of American capabilities. Okinawa, beginning April 1, 1945, provided final major Japanese observation of American construction capabilities. Colonel Hiromichi Yahara, senior operations officer of the 32nd Army, was uniquely positioned to witness and understand these achievements. Unlike most senior Japanese officers, Yahara survived the battle and later wrote detailed memoirs. The Battle for Okinawa provides one of few comprehensive Japanese perspectives on American operations, including construction activities. Exchange officer service in the United States from 1933 to 1935 had provided Yahara with sophisticated understanding of American capabilities. Study at Fort Leavenworth and extensive travel to observe military installations exceeded most Japanese officers' exposure to American methods. Even with this background, what he witnessed at Okinawa exceeded his expectations completely. American construction capabilities surpassed even informed Japanese assessments. The scale and speed remained beyond traditional military comprehension. Statistics of American construction at Okinawa remain staggering by any measure. Within hours of landing on April 1st, American forces captured both Kadena and Yontan airfields. These prizes had been inexplicably left largely undefended by Japanese commanders. April 3rd brought immediate construction activity to both captured facilities. The 58th Construction Battalion and 19th Aviation Engineer Battalion began repairs and extensions immediately. Equipment moved across runways, while engineers surveyed damage and planned improvements. Within 1 week, American fighters were operating from both airfields. Close air support missions launched against Japanese positions throughout the island. What had been Japanese facilities became American tactical aviation bases with unprecedented speed. Construction scale that followed was completely unprecedented in military history. Eventually, 95,000 Army and Navy construction personnel would work on Okinawa simultaneously. Plans called for facilities accommodating 4,000 aircraft of all types. The 8th, 10th, 70th, and 11th Naval Construction Brigades would build comprehensive military infrastructure. Airfields represented only part of massive construction undertaking. Port facilities, ammunition dumps, hospitals, and supply depots created essentially a major military city while battle raged. Yahara's memoir describes growing awareness of American construction superiority, though tactical and strategic matters receive primary focus. He notes American forces could establish operational bases faster than Japanese forces could mount effective counterattacks against them. His account of April 19th, Japanese counteroffensive, reveals futility of attacking American positions being continuously reinforced and supplied through rapidly constructed facilities. Traditional tactics proved completely inadequate against such construction-supported operations. What Yahara witnessed, but perhaps could not fully articulate, was fundamental difference in military philosophy between opposing forces. Japanese military thought emphasized spiritual elements and warrior spirit that could overcome material disadvantages through superior determination and sacrifice. American military practice emphasized marriage of combat power with industrial capability seamlessly integrated. Construction battalions were combat engineers carrying rifles and operating bulldozers with equal professional skill. Their organization brought civilian construction expertise directly into military operations. Japanese forces had no equivalent capability in their organizational structure. Construction units were either military engineers with extremely limited equipment or conscripted civilian laborers lacking any combat training whatsoever. Integration of construction and combat capabilities was beyond their conceptual framework. When the 17th Setsue was captured, interrogations revealed complete absence of combat training. They possessed minimal equipment and no combat capability. They were purely laborers rather than warrior builders characterizing American construction battalions. Full extent of Japanese intelligence failure regarding American construction capabilities became clear only after war's end. Strategic bombing surveys conducted from 1945 to 1946 included extensive interrogations of Japanese military and civilian officials. These interrogations, combined with captured documents translated by Allied intelligence services, reveal how fundamentally Japanese planners had misunderstood American industrial and construction capabilities from the war's beginning. Vice Admiral Shigeru Fukudome, Chief of Staff of Combined Fleet and later Commander of 2nd Air Fleet, admitted in post-war interrogations that Japanese naval planning never contemplated American construction speed. Pre-war doctrine assumed capturing islands meant gaining defensive positions holdable for months while reinforcements arrived. American ability to transform captured islands into offensive bases within days or weeks invalidated this entire strategic concept completely. Defensive planning based on these assumptions became obsolete before implementation. Numbers tell the story of intelligence failure with mathematical precision. Japanese planners estimated building 6,000-foot runways capable of handling heavy bombers would require 3,000 to 5,000 laborers working 3 to 6 months continuously. American construction battalions accomplished identical tasks with 1,100 personnel in 20 days. This 5 to 6-fold efficiency advantage, combined with ability to deploy multiple construction battalions simultaneously, meant construction speeds Japanese planners never imagined possible. Equipment disparities were equally dramatic in their implications. Single bulldozers could move more earth in 1 hour than 300 manual laborers could move in entire days. By 1944, American Pacific forces deployed hundreds of these machines simultaneously. Japanese forces possessed so few bulldozers that captured American equipment was prized above almost any other war material. Construction capability gaps reflected deeper industrial and organizational differences between opposing military systems. Japanese military construction remained rooted in traditional methods adapted from civilian practices. Manual labor using picks, shovels, and human-powered transport reflected both equipment shortages and deeply embedded military culture, emphasizing spiritual strength and physical endurance. Manual labor was considered not merely necessary due to equipment shortages, but character-building and spiritually meaningful within Japanese military philosophy. Physical hardship was embraced as strengthening warrior spirit, essential for victory. American construction represented complete industrialization of military engineering capabilities. Construction battalions recruited directly from civilian construction industry brought years of practical experience to military operations. industrial methods were applied to military problems with devastating effectiveness. Industrial methods arrived directly on Pacific battlefields. American forces applied time studies and motion analysis to military construction. Equipment maintenance followed rigid schedules. Standardized procedures governed every operation. These concepts came straight from American civilian construction sites. Prefabrication defined American building methods. Standardization shaped every project. Japanese construction practices stood in stark contrast. Local materials dominated their approach. Custom solutions defined each building project. This fundamental difference created dramatic speed advantages. American forces built consistently across vastly different locations. Construction quality remained uniform, whether building on coral atolls or volcanic islands. Quonset huts rolled off American production lines. Marston matting arrived in standardized sections. Fuel tanks came as complete prefabricated systems. Everything shipped ready for immediate assembly. Japanese forces watched these materials arrive in overwhelming quantities. The psychological impact hit Japanese forces in waves. Available sources reveal this progression clearly. Prisoner interrogations captured changing attitudes. Captured letters showed shifting morale despite heavy censorship. Post-war testimony filled remaining gaps. Detailed personal accounts remain frustratingly limited. Intimate perspectives rarely survived the war's destruction. But the broad pattern emerges with crystal clarity. Confidence gave way to confusion. Confusion deepened into despair. Initial Japanese confidence ran deep and strong. Military doctrine rested on Yamato Damashi concepts. Japanese spirit would overcome material disadvantages. Pearl Harbor's success seemed to validate this belief completely. Early conquests reinforced spiritual superiority claims. Japanese forces defeated Western powers repeatedly. Inferior equipment mattered little against superior fighting spirit. Guadalcanal changed everything fundamentally and permanently. Henderson Field rose with stunning speed. American construction crews worked around the clock. Bombs fell during daylight hours. Construction continued through the darkness. The runway remained operational despite constant bombardment. This resilience shocked Japanese observers completely. Material superiority alone couldn't explain such persistence. Organizational capabilities exceeded anything Japanese forces had witnessed. Industrial systems operated beyond their comprehension. Fighting spirit couldn't match bulldozers and concrete. By 1943, prisoner interrogations revealed growing awareness. Japanese construction unit members expressed complete amazement. American equipment capabilities defied their experience. Strategic implications became increasingly apparent to field commanders. Captured airfields operated within days of seizure. Every island became a launching platform. The next objective came within bomber range immediately. Japanese defensive strategy crumbled under construction speed. Lengthy sieges were supposed to exhaust American forces. Island hopping bypassed strongholds entirely. Rapid base construction enabled strategic leapfrogging. The Saipan loss placed Japan within B-29 range. This reality toppled the Tojo government immediately. Military leaders understood the implications perfectly. Every lost island became a platform attacking Japan itself. Construction battalions built massive B-29 complexes faster than Japan could develop countermeasures. Tinian transformed into the world's largest airbase. Saipan followed the same pattern rapidly. Final phase despair showed in defensive strategies. Beach defenses disappeared at Iwo Jima. Okinawa adopted similar tactics deliberately. Prepared positions replaced traditional defensive approaches. American forces would establish beachheads regardless of resistance. Support facilities would follow construction battalion arrivals. Maximum casualties became the only achievable goal. Negotiated peace replaced victory as the objective. Strategic impact fundamentally altered Pacific War trajectory. This transcended simple construction speed improvements. Military strategy underwent revolutionary transformation. Construction technology enabled entirely new approaches. Island hopping strategy became possible through rapid construction. Less defended islands provided construction sites. Airfields neutralized bypassed Japanese strongholds. Admiral Nimitz bypassed Rabaul using this strategy. Surrounding island airfields neutralized the major base. Air power replaced direct assault requirements. Construction capabilities made strategic decisions possible. Timeline compression proved dramatic beyond Japanese planning. Pre-war Japanese assumptions contemplated years of American advance. Long pauses would construct supporting infrastructure. American forces advanced 3,000 miles in under 3 years instead. Each captured island immediately supported further advances. Meanwhile, information gaps widened between battlefield reality and home front understanding. Japanese censorship exceeded most wartime standards. Information about American capabilities disappeared from communications. Letters home faced heavy editing. Equipment references vanished from correspondence. Construction speed descriptions never reached families. Material superiority mentions disappeared completely. Few uncensored letters survived the war. These surviving documents revealed soldier amazement. American capabilities exceeded Japanese imagination. But homefront civilians never learned these facts. Propaganda portrayed Americans as spiritually weak. Material dependence supposedly weakened American resolve. Warrior spirit would overcome comfort-seeking enemies. Radio Tokyo broadcasts emphasized Japanese spiritual advantages. American materialism became a propaganda weakness. Reality contradicted propaganda completely and consistently. American forces showed material superiority and combat endurance. Harsh conditions didn't break American resolve. This truth remained hidden from civilians. Military reporting faced similar distortion patterns. Saipan's fall became heroic defense propaganda. Overwhelming enemy numbers explained the defeat. B-29 base construction never entered reports. Philippine campaigns received similar treatment. Numerical superiority explained American advances. Base construction speed disappeared from accounts. Supporting infrastructure development went unmentioned. Information gaps created strategic consequences immediately. Civilian morale remained surprisingly high. B-29 raids began in late 1944. Sudden vulnerability shocked the population completely. Defensive perimeters supposedly still held strong. American bombers reached Japan mysteriously. Construction battalion achievements remained unknown. Massive airbase complexes appeared overnight. Pacific construction statistics provide context for Japanese defeat. By war's end, transformation was complete. Seabee and Army engineer accomplishments stagger imagination. The Pacific became an American base network. Total Seabee strength reached 325,000 men. 80% served Pacific operations. These forces built 111 major airstrips. 441 piers supported naval operations. Ammunition magazines numbered 2,558 facilities. Warehouses covered 700 square blocks. Housing accommodated 1.5 million personnel. Fuel storage reached 100 million gallons. Over 300 bases dotted Pacific Islands. Equipment deployment proved equally staggering. 50,000 bulldozers entered wartime production. Thousands deployed to Pacific operations. Caterpillar D7 bulldozers became construction workhorses. Each machine weighed 15,000 pounds. Drawbar pull reached 25,000 pounds. Japanese forces possessed nothing comparable. Marston matting innovation revolutionized airfield construction. Each mat measured 10 feet by 15 inches. Weight reached 66 pounds per section. 87 drainage holes prevented water accumulation. American factories produced enough matting for 240 runways. Each runway measured 150 by 5,000 feet. Total production reached 2 million tons. Steel equivalent equaled 600 Liberty ships. Prefabricated runway material transformed construction timelines. Cleared areas became operational airfields. Hours replaced days in construction schedules. Installation speed defied Japanese experience. Human efficiency statistics proved most telling. Henderson Field maintenance continued through 140 air raids. 2 major naval bombardments failed to stop operations. October 13th to 14th battleship attack created 53 runway craters. Construction crews filled every crater by dawn. Runway operations resumed immediately. Repair speed exceeded damage infliction rates. This efficiency lay outside Japanese military experience. Construction speed records fell repeatedly. Espiritu Santo airstrip required 20 days. July 1942 established early benchmarks. Records improved consistently throughout the war. The 47th Naval Construction Battalion completed Vangunu Island runway in 9 days. The 300-foot strip set new standards. 15-hour Terao airfield rehabilitation demonstrated captured facility conversion speed. Tinian Island demonstrated ultimate construction capability. 15,000 CBs worked for less than a year. The world's largest airbase complex emerged. Northfield featured 4 parallel 8,500-foot runways. Daily B-29 launches reached 129 aircraft. Single base complex exceeded Japanese defensive capabilities. Months of construction delivered more explosive power than Japan's entire military. Okinawa transformation proved even more dramatic. Plans supported 4,000 aircraft operations. Japan's remaining air force totaled fewer planes. Port facilities would support invasion fleets. Ammunition dumps prepared for Japan invasion. Hospital complexes anticipated massive casualties. Supply depots would support millions of troops. Japanese surrender halted these preparations. 95,000 construction troops worked on Okinawa. Final assault infrastructure took shape rapidly. Japan's defensive capabilities paled against construction momentum. Most senior Japanese officers, witnessing construction capabilities, died in combat. Different evidence types create compelling pictures. American construction records provide precise statistics. Japanese strategic decisions reveal growing awareness. Limited surviving testimonies offer professional amazement glimpses. Colonel Hiromichi Yahara survived Okinawa. His memoir provides crucial witness testimony. American construction proceeded with mechanical precision. Engineers worked half-miles ahead of fighting. CB surveying teams operated in no man's land. Future construction sites received marking under fire. Marines hadn't reached these positions yet. Yahara's strategic assessment acknowledged construction superiority impact. American engineering capabilities made defensive strategy untenable. Evacuated positions quickly became enemy advance bases. This recognition came too late. Captain Rikihei Inoguchi survived as Admiral Onishi's staff officer. Onishi created the kamikaze program. Inoguchi provided naval perspective testimony. Air operations focus dominated his observations. American base establishment speed made traditional naval strategy obsolete. Captured islands projected air power westward immediately. Defensive perimeters compressed faster than adjustments allowed. Strategic adaptation proved impossible. Japanese perspective detail comes from surviving engineers. Construction unit interrogations revealed professional amazement. American methods seemed futuristic to observers. Machines completed work, requiring weeks of manual labor. One 17th Saitai engineer provided remarkable testimony. His name disappeared from available documents. American construction resembled seeing the future. Hours accomplished what took weeks traditionally. Individual testimonies pale beside strategic decisions. Actions revealed Japanese construction capability, understanding. Beach defense abandonment at Iwo Jima showed strategic adaptation. Okinawa followed similar patterns. Prepared position fighting replaced territorial defense. American beachhead establishment seemed inevitable. Support facilities would follow regardless. Casualty infliction became the only achievable goal. Kamikaze programs partially responded to construction capabilities. Traditional naval aviation required elaborate bases. Maintenance facilities demanded extensive infrastructure. Trained ground crews needed permanent installations. American construction battalions systematically built advancing bases. Japanese facilities faced systematic destruction. Conventional air operations lost material foundation. Kamikaze attacks required minimal support infrastructure. One-way fuel loads eliminated return requirements. Minimal maintenance reduced ground crew needs. Air operations continued despite base infrastructure loss. Construction capability erosion drove tactical adaptation. Captured intelligence documents revealed Japanese countermeasure attempts. Special infiltration units would sabotage equipment. Equipment operator assassination received consideration. Construction site chemical contamination entered planning. None of these plans achieved effective implementation. Japanese weakness prevented proper execution. American security measures blocked infiltration attempts. Countermeasures remained theoretical concepts. Final Homeland Defense plans showed full construction awareness. American landings would establish massive complexes. Resistance couldn't prevent base construction. Strategic assumptions incorporated construction reality. Building bases over Japanese dead became the strategy. American casualties might force negotiated peace. Unconditional surrender could become conditional settlement. Construction capabilities shaped final planning. Senior military leaders grasped strategic implications by late 1944. Recognition came too late for trajectory alteration. Tojo government fell after Saipan loss. B-29 base establishment made Japan vulnerable. Japanese military response revealed construction threat understanding. Iwo Jima defense inflicted maximum American casualties. Airfield provision for B-29 fighter escorts motivated desperate resistance. Lieutenant General Kuribayashi abandoned traditional banzai charges. Deliberate defensive campaigns replaced suicidal attacks. Airfield construction seemed inevitable regardless. American life cost became the only variable. Strategic acceptance shaped tactical decisions. Okinawa strategy acknowledged inevitable base construction. Holding actions combined with naval kamikaze strikes. American airfields and ports would appear eventually. Construction costs became maximization targets. Colonel Yahara's defensive plan accepted construction inevitability. American airfield and port establishment couldn't be prevented. Maximum cost extraction became the strategy. Construction would proceed over American bodies. Surprise progressed through recognition to strategic adaptation. Japanese forces understood construction capabilities eventually. Strategic decisions became testimony forms. Actions spoke louder than destroyed records. Japanese CB construction capability encounters tell stories through statistics. Strategic outcomes speak louder than personal testimonies. Military record destruction eliminated intimate perspectives. Individual soldier and officer experiences remain largely unknown. Surviving evidence tells compelling stories, nonetheless. Construction statistics provide hard data. Strategic decisions reveal gradual understanding. Limited testimonies offer glimpses. Post-war analyses fill gaps. Japanese forces witnessed unprecedented military history developments. Military construction achieved full industrialization. Strategic advance speeds exceeded pre-war contemplation. 20-day Espiritu Santo construction defied planning assumptions. 15-hour Terrao rehabilitation seemed impossible. Massive Tinian B-29 bases rose during nearby battles. Engineering feats embodied more than technical achievement. Industrial and organizational superiority made Japanese defeat inevitable. Pacific footholds enabled industrial civilization projection. Japanese military professionals understanding implications faced profound demoralization. They fought American industrial systems, not just military forces. Bulldozers and prefabricated materials represented civilization itself. Laboriously constructed Japanese positions took months of manual work. American engineers matched or exceeded these positions. Days or weeks replaced months of effort. Strategic implications proved undeniable. Rapid base construction enabled island-hopping strategy. Japanese stronghold bypassing became possible. American advanced timeline compressed dramatically. Years became months through construction speed. Strategic bombardment range reached Japan earlier than planned. Pacific War became industrial system contests. Military force competition proved insufficient. Japan couldn't compete industrially. Surviving Japanese testimonies consistently expressed equipment amazement. Construction speed defied understanding. Strategic decisions revealed growing importance awareness. Late war defenses acknowledged construction inevitability. Asymmetric responses replaced conventional competition. Material superiority couldn't be matched. Strategic capitulation followed industrial reality recognition. Emperor Hirohito's surrender broadcast acknowledged cruel bombs. War situation development didn't favor Japan. Understated recognition encompassed many factors. American industrial power projection across Pacific distances achieved impossible speeds. Continued resistance became futile. CB motto Construimus Batuimus represented warfare innovation. We build, we fight embodied new capabilities. Combat engineers built under fire at industrial speeds. Japanese forces fought future warfare itself. Spiritual strength alone couldn't overcome construction capabilities. Bulldozers and prefabricated materials defeated traditional approaches. Industrial organization exceeded military virtue. 6,000-foot airstrips built in 20 days symbolized new warfare. Japanese military tradition hadn't prepared forces for construction-enabled warfare. Strategic adaptations spoke louder than destroyed documents. Defensive adjustments revealed ultimate defeat recognition. Military forces fought industrial systems unsuccessfully. Traditional military virtues proved insufficient alone. This encounter legacy extends beyond World War II. Military construction industrialization became permanent modern warfare features. Rapid base establishment capabilities remain strategically central. Logistical support projection across vast distances continues. Building faster than destruction capabilities persist. CBs demonstrated these capabilities first. Japanese forces witnessed military revolution beginnings. Limited Japanese perspective documentation frustrates historians. Personal accounts would provide emotional depth. Capability and system impacts often lack contemporary documentation. Frameworks for understanding significance may be absent. Japanese forces witnessed CB airfield construction at impossible speeds. Military affairs revolutions unfolded before their eyes. Conceptual tools for articulation may have been lacking. Numbers speak clearly across decades nonetheless. Statistics changed Pacific War trajectory fundamentally. Major airstrips, piers, and personnel bases transformed warfare. Japanese forces watching jungle and coral transformations witnessed statistical realities. Airfield operational speeds defied traditional timelines. Numbers represented more than statistics to observers. Future warfare arrived at unimaginable speeds. Military traditions couldn't process such capabilities. Pacific transformation through construction stands as decisive yet underdocumented factors. Japanese forces matched American courage consistently. Tactical skill often exceeded American capabilities. Industrial systems couldn't be matched, however. Captured islands became offensive bases at unprecedented speeds. This industrial and organizational superiority proved decisive. CBs and construction achievements determined outcomes. Pacific War results reflected industrial competition. Japan couldn't match American construction systems,